and this is what drives me crazy about the Democratic Party. They don't care about their base at all. They kind of don't like their base, right? Then fast forward to today. Do you know right now with the revenues that we get, what the exact dollar amount the U.S. government gets from tariffs?
Now?
Do you know what the exact dollar amount we get from tariffs? What do you think the dollar amount, income that comes into them?
Ooh.
From us, they're getting $4.7 trillion, give or take, right?
How much are we?
Of the $4.7 trillion that the U.S. gets, what percentage you think is other countries paying tariffs?
Less.
What do you think is the dollar amount? Give me the dollar amount.
In this one, Patrick Bet-David is discussing how Trump's tariffs and DOGE could eliminate income taxes for Americans. And he's discussing this with old chunky yogurt. Good old Cenk Uygur is back. And this one is good because Cenk basically changes his tune after Patrick Bet-David breaks down the whole scenario for him, and he's kind of left like speechless. But you know, that's really no such thing when it comes to Cenk Uygur. He's never actually truly speechless. But I really enjoyed this one because in light of what DOGE has been uncovering lately with USAID, now it's looking into FEMA and the Department of Education, I'm beginning to have hope that all Americans might be seeing some relief coming soon. And we might be seeing some common sense be restored in the government as it pertains to how it spends its money. Basically waste our money, right? And this one's a little bit longer than usual. So let's go ahead and get into Patrick Bet-David discussing how Trump tariffs and DOGE could eliminate income tax for all Americans with Cenk Uygur.
The good news about Trump, and this is, I always give credit where credit is due, is he actually listens to people. Like, he cares about his base. And this is what drives me crazy about the Democratic Party. They don't care about their base at all. They kind of don't like their base, right? But when I put out the tweet about Elon Musk and cutting the Pentagon, why did Elon and Donald Trump Jr. respond? Is it because of me? Maybe partially. But mainly, it was because look at all those right-wingers in the comments section going, yeah, cut the Pentagon. Yes, conflict of interest rules for generals. And I bet I can get agreement on that here too, right? Mm-hmm. But I am curious. Do you guys want to cut the Pentagon?
Of course.
Cut the Pentagon. So let's go through a couple different numbers because we actually just did this the other day. The annual budget of how much the U.S. government spent last year was what, Rob? $4.7 trillion. I think the number is $4.7 trillion. Okay. Of the $4.7 trillion, what is it? 6.1. I know, but I took the 1.4 out. Right. They're about $4.5 trillion in revenue is what it gets. We spent 6.1 trillion. So about 4.5, 4.7 is the money that comes in that we collect.
Yeah. Our income is about 5 trillion and our expenses is over 6. So we're well over $1 trillion.
Of the 4.7 trillion, you know where we spend the most money, Rob? Can you type in where we spend most of the money? What percentage goes to what? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's all Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the big
You know what's three?
Yeah.
Military. Okay, so now check this out.
You know what's tied with the military?
What's that?
Is the interest on our debt.
Right. But
it's well over $1 trillion.
It is. So check this out. I got a couple ideas if you're going there. I have a couple ideas. If you zoom in, Rob, I just want to show the categories because I think it's 27%, 21%, 18%. Brandon, can you send it right?
Rob, if you go to that and hit images.
So 21% Social Security, 18% National Defense, 15% Health, 13% Medicare. And if you go in the charts for the audience to see, there's a few things that we need to do because this is the problem. I don't think that's the one. There's another one that's a better one. That's an older one. Anyways, this is my thoughts on this. And actually, we put some time thinking about it. Do you know what U.S. just 150 years ago, do you know where 100% of our revenue was coming from?
Tariffs.
100% was tariffs.
100%.
Yeah. No income tax.
We lived. Everything for us was off of tariffs. Okay? Everything for us was off of tariffs. Okay? Do you know the U.S. government, what percentage of the U.S. income they were living off of? Meaning the money that we make, the money that we make that they tax, 2%. Now it's 37%. They rely on what we do and what we produce, okay? Tariffs. We get rid of tariffs. We introduce taxes. Every time taxes was introduced, you know what it was due? For war, right? Let's do this war. No problem. What's his name comes out? Lincoln comes out, Civil War. Hey, guys, we need to tax you up to 7%.
It's tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. Once we pay off the debt for the war, we'll stop taxing you. Guess what happened 10 years later?
Another war.
No, they paid off the war. They stopped taxing.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, we're done. Next. Okay, we're done. Boom, next. Do you know in 1894 what happened? Rob, type in 1894, Supreme Court ruled, I think it's called something against farmers, Pollack against farmers. Type in Pollack against farmers. Do you know in 1894 what Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional? Income taxes. In 1894, Supreme Court ruled Pollack versus farmers that federal income tax was unconstitutional. That's just 100 years ago. Just 100 years ago. Then what happens? Then all of a sudden we have 1913. Two things happen in 1913, right before World War I. What is it? Federal Reserve and taxes gets introduced. What happens in 1914? You got World War I starts. Then what happens? You know what happens next in the 30s? You know when we introduced and we accepted? The taking income from your paycheck. Nobody did that. It's the, what do you call it when you're taking income out of your payroll taxes? And American people are like, yeah, let's agree to it. Dead. From that moment on, you were done. You agreed for the government to take taxes before you make money. That was like, this is what we fought for, right? So then fast forward to today. Do you know right now with the revenues that we get, what the exact dollar amount the U.S. government gets from tariffs?
Now?
Do you know what the exact dollar amount we get from tariffs? What do you think the dollar amount, income that comes into them?
Ooh.
From us, they're getting $4.7 trillion, give or take, right?
How much are we?
Of the $4.7 trillion that the U.S. gets, what percentage you think is other countries paying tariffs?
Less.
What do you think is the dollar amount? Give me the dollar amount. Of the $4.7 trillion, what do you think is the dollar amount that we collect?
50 billion.
What do you think? 50 billion out of 4.7 trillion?
That's very low.
That's like 99.9% is on us. 1.2 what?
Trillion?
What do you think it is, Tom?
No, I don't think it's in the trillions. I'm guessing. I think it's in the billions.
I'm going to stay closer to $1.5 trillion.
Trillion and a half? You know what the number is? $80 billion.
Look at this guy.
That is
Look at the under. Look at this guy.
Tom.
Yes.
Tell me you're not shell-shocked. Please tell me you're not shell-shocked.
I'm completely shell-shocked because I know the War Powers Act of
Check this
War
out.
Revenue Act.
You may be asking yourself, I asked you a question about Pentagon. What the hell does this have to do with Pentagon? You know what it has to do with Pentagon?
So I don't know if you guys understand those numbers. I hope you do. I think most of you do. But I had no idea it was that low. Just like Tom, I'm shell-shocked. And I think we all should be. Because, as Patrick Bet-David explained, there was a time where our country got by off of tariffs alone, solely off of tariffs, with no income tax. And there's just no way in my mind that you could convince me that we can't get back to that.
Act of
Check
the
this
War
out.
Revenue Act.
You may be asking yourself, I asked you a question about Pentagon. What the hell does this have to do with Pentagon? You know what it has to do with Pentagon? Do you know right now we tax 2% tariffs? Our average tariff is 2% on countries because it's $4 trillion that we get. We tax 2%. What's 2%? $80 billion. Do you realize if we raised across the board that $4 trillion that you're doing business with us, across the board, we raise tariffs to 25% no matter what country it is, we now generate $1 trillion. Now, let me go to the other part. Do you know how much military personnel we have in Japan? You know how much military personnel we have in Japan? Give or take. How many soldiers do we have in Japan right now?
20,000.
52,000 people,
Wow.
give or take. Why do we have 52,000 people in Japan? We're protecting from who? From possibly what?
China.
Okay, so North Korea, China, we have military in South Korea. Okay, but who's providing protection? We are, right? Okay. Do you know who we owe the most money to? Japan.
Oh,
they have a $1.1 trillion bond on us.
In our bonds, yeah.
In our bonds, right? Do you know if you calculate from 1945, give or take, till today that we've had all those soldiers there, how much that investment has been to Japan? Roughly $410 billion. So say $500 billion. So what if we go and we negotiate with Japan and we say the following, listen, guys, we appreciate you guys. You're amazing. We're willing to continue to provide you protection from all the enemies around you. However, that $1.5 trillion loan, the bond that you bought, we have to split it in half because since 1945, we've given you protection. We got to cut this out. This has got to be gone. We're not doing this anymore moving forward. So our debt from 1.1 officially became $600 billion. Great. Moving forward, all the other countries, minimum 25%. Boom. Our income now went from 80 billion to what? $1 trillion. We did the math yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday, 3 days ago, on what it would take for us to make income taxes zero in US. You know it's actually possible? Do you know it's actually possible to make income taxes zero? It'll take 10 years to get there, but we can actually make income taxes zero. Some adjustments. A big part of it was eliminating things like Pentagon, getting rid of many of these military, the stuff that we have 800 military bases worldwide. What are we doing? And we're paying for it? No, you pay for it. So many ways that the way money is managed right now, which is absolutely ridiculous, that if we actually sat there, this is why I'm excited about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. If there's anybody that can pull off firing and cutting and get them, do you know what percentage of government employees show up to work every day? Do you know what percentage?
40?
Do you know what percentage of government employees have to come and work at the office every day? You know what the percentage is?
Is it less than 40?
6%.
What?
Right there, read
The
it.
government is
House
all
Speaker
remote?
Balk at Senate report showing only 6% of federal workers show up in person on a full-time basis.
What the hell are they doing?
Work from home.
Oh,
They could be part-time. Like, so yeah, it doesn't mean that that's the only people that show up. It just means that only 6% are showing up 5 days
Even
a
if
week.
we take 50% of it, and let's just say
It's still unbelievable.
12%. So that number is still,
nuts.
what's the point though? Hey, you want to work from home? Go in the free market and see if you make it.
yeah.
Go, because you know who's paying that? You know who's paying that? We're paying for that. There is like a decision like this we can make where half our expenditure can be gone within 2 years, literally. And we have to put everything on the table. What do you guys do? John Stewart asks you, hey, how do you miss an audit for Pentagon? Well, I don't like the way you say it because that's not really what it is. I'm sorry. What other way is it? Have you seen this interview with Stewart and the lady?
Yeah, no, I didn't see it, but that infuriates me. So no, look, you missed 7 audits in a row. If that happens in a private company, you're in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
If you miss one audit.
Yeah.
Where's the money?
You're a zombie
Where's-
company at that point.
And if you're a CEO of a company and your CFO, your chief financial officer, screws it up so that he misses it, you can't pass an audit, and your investors don't know where the money is, that brother's going to get fired. And he's going to get fired in the first year, not in the 7th year. So if I was Trump and, and I said, hey, look, put me in, coach, right? If I'm Trump, Elon, et cetera, I'd ask the generals, where's the effing money? If you can't tell me where $400 billion is, because they missed by about $400 billion. If you can't show me where $400 billion of our money is, you either find the money or you find your next job. Okay? Period. I'm not interested in, I can't find $400 billion. I mean, in 2015, this is again, this platforming bullshit. They buried a report because they don't want it to get out from the Pentagon that they knew for a fact $125 billion was just for waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, they're just robbing us blind. Soap dispensers sold by Boeing at an 800% markup. Okay, can you do that in a real business? You can't do that in a real business, but if in the Pentagon, and guys, remember, why did I pick the Pentagon? Because that's a place where if you ever questioned it, the establishment would say, how dare you, you're endangering national security.
You're un-American.
You're going to get us all killed if we don't pay 800% markup for soaps. And you remember the golden toilets and the $800
Support the troops, Cenk.
Yeah, support the troops. So when they did that bullshit, remember I fought Dick Cheney before he was in the Democratic Party, and I'd say support the troops. I looked it up at the time, and now it's a tiny bit better, but not much. This incoming salary for service members was $19,000. $19,000 a year. Where's the support the troops? The money isn't going to the troops. The money's going to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, etc. Okay, so let's go. I mean, look, Bernie and AOC suggested a bill to cut the Pentagon by about $89 billion a couple of years back, right? And it went nowhere because the Republicans voted against it, Democrats voted against it. The establishment never wants to cut the Pentagon. You tell me we need twice as much money as we did just like 10 years ago? Bullshit. They're robbing us blind. They're robbing us blind. Now, so look, here's another agreement of the internet, the right wing, the left wing, the outsiders saying, for God's sake, cut the Pentagon. Look, I would say at least $100 billion. If you're not cutting $100 billion, you didn't even try.
He mentioned that Republicans and Democrats can get together on this one, but the reality is if we sent in DOGE to the Pentagon, which I hope happens, the Democrats, the pundits, the mainstream media are all going to fight us for it. And that's just a reality. Even Cenk Uygur is probably going to oppose sending in the billionaire Elon Musk to audit the Pentagon. Heck, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing that Cenk is already opposing DOGE going into USAID and FEMA and the Department of Education as well, which they're checking into right now. But yes, we should definitely audit the Pentagon, right? I love how Vinny just immediately, when asked the question, say, yes, absolutely we should. He knows that it's been 7 years since the Pentagon has passed an audit, and it's about time that these people are held accountable, just like every single American and our businesses are held accountable. And I will mention that this interview happened before Elon Musk even started looking into these things. And what he's discovered is way worse than we thought it was as far as government waste. Hundreds of billions of dollars, or at least $100 billion, he's already discovered just through USAID that has been wasted. So I'm willing to bet that it's going to be much easier to balance those numbers that Patrick Bet-David was talking about simply by letting Elon do his job with DOGE. He's going to go through FEMA and cut the fat. He's going to go through the Department of Education and cut the fat. And hopefully he can get into the Pentagon. And basically, to me, I hope that DOGE can investigate every single government penny that we spend, right? Every single one of these programs, the FBI, the CIA, the ATF, I mean, everything. All the three-letter agencies. I hope that Elon runs the fine-tooth comb through and completely cuts the fat. I mean, look at what he did with X after he bought it. He fired like 80% of the employees, and within a year, it was back to being profitable, and that's with all these woke companies pulling their marketing ads from the platform, which, of course, a lot of them came back, and I'm sure the ones that haven't will soon, because X is the best social media platform out there. And that's thanks to Elon Musk, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your group chat. Everybody needs to see this breakdown from Patrick Bet-David. So make sure you guys share this one. Other than that, I would just say thank you for watching to the end. I know this one was a bit longer than normal, and I'll see you guys in the next one.